Hey, joining me today is collie fanatic and herding breed specialist Martina Miradoli. Martina runs That'll Do Dog Training Academy and is a qualified dog trainer, sheep farmer, and has a podcast especially for collie enthusiasts called the Border Collie Geek. Let's go and chat with her. Hey Martina, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Awesome, great to have you here today. So we're going to talk all things Border Collie, which I know you are fanatic.
Yes.
So first things first, why collies?
Why personally me collies? So I think actually I was in the UK when I was younger with my dad on holiday, and my dad always took me around the countryside. We were staying in bed and breakfast, and I think I saw them for the first time really working sheep on a farm where we were staying, and I liked them. And when I decided I was going to get a dog, that was just easy decision for me. It's like things that happen when you're young, when you're a child, and then they just stay with you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what was it about them that you when you first saw them on that holiday, what was it about them that kind of drew you to them?
I think I've always wanted to work with animals, and I've always wanted to be around animals, and they look like those dogs that will just, perfect to be in a kind of a farm or, countryside kind of environment. And I think I was a bit obsessed about anything that was the UK when I was younger anyway, horses and, music and everything. So the fact that they were from the UK and the fact that they were that kind of dog that you see in the countryside and in that place that I would really wanted to live, although I was still in a big city at the time. The other options for me were a Jack Russell and I think English setter.
Okay.
And I think when it came down to the decision, I just wanted a dog that was easy to have with me. I was working with horses at the time. And so a dog that was just easy to have around all the time, following the horses and everything. And I found that, Border Collie was the best option.
Awesome. Okay. So one of the biggest problems that we know owners struggle with is recall. So how do you use play to help teach a recall, especially with breeds that are so sensitive to distractions in the environment, herding everything in their sight?
So the best thing is to introduce play as soon as possible. It's probably the first thing I introduce when I bring a puppy home.
Okay.
The first thing I do, I just sit down on the floor and I get one of your toys out and I just play so that they know that if there is movement involved, it's going to come from me.
Yeah.
So I just build on play, and then as soon as they have an idea of what recall is, which I start with food, then toy becomes the main reward. So I move, the toy moves, one of the long chases, they see movement and they get interested in me rather than interested of what's going on in the environment. So I run away, I move left and right, I drag the toy with me, and dogs, they know that if they want fun, if they want chase, if they want to run around, then they can do it with me.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to introduce toys straight away. People want to teach sit, people want to teach stays, they want to teach so many things. But I think if you actually start straight away with play, then that's what they want to do. Puppy wants to play, and that's why they're obsessed with other dogs. That's why they're obsessed with things that move. They just want to run around and have fun.
Yeah, I think something that you said there that was really, really sparked my interest is that when you're playing, running away, and I know that is kind of people really want to kind of be there. You obviously, think that actually they need to present the toy to the dog, and and sometimes that's not, especially for younger puppies, that's not gonna. They may become intimidated, and not actually want to play with you, but actually you're thinking about the behaviors that are inbuilt, actually kind of running away from them, or we don't have to run miles up the road, but it's just kind of like running. So actually it's kind of okay, this is the chase is on now, let's kind of have that game. It's really interesting. So we know that dogs, most dog breeds, were bred for different types of things, and this can hugely influence what they like to do. But how important is it for owners to understand what their dog was bred for?
It's everything, because if you know what their job looks like, then you can recognize when they start showing interest in repeating the behaviors they're bred to do, like in collies specifically is chase and herd or control and stalk. So if you know exactly what it looks like, and then you can look out for things that, for behaviors from happening before they become a problem. So if you know that, stalking a dog, stalking a car, or running up and try to round the kids is not just play. For some dogs, actually becomes a job. They think they're giving themselves a job to do. Then that job, of course, is very reinforcing, and dogs will tend to keep repeating it. And then it becomes an obsession, and then is out of the owner's control. And then we get all your problems with car chasing, or dogs that don't come back for recall because they just want to, run off with the dog, or they don't leave the kids alone in the house because all they want to do is to run around them and control them. And if the kids don't stop, they start nipping them. But if you know what it looks like from the beginning, you're like, hang on, that looks like my puppy's interested in cars. So take the puppy away from the road, take the dog away from the road, and actually contact a professional that can help you to actually not make that behavior becoming a bad habit that then is more difficult to retrain.
Yeah, and I think that kind of thinking about the job, that's a really key thing to consider. I mean, obviously there are a lot of breeds out there that that especially collies that are definitely, it's so hardwired into them that actually that's what they're looking to. I mean, my mum, as you know, has collies, and that you can see that trait all the time in them in terms of when they're eyeing things, looking, stalking, all those types of things that actually just during everyday interactions with things around them, it's so important to realize or to consider that.
Yeah, and you're not going to take that away from them. But if you recognize it, you can work, you have to have skills in the dogs first, like, for example, redirecting on a toy, so that if they want to actually get interested in something and obsess about something, you have something that you can redirect them on. So is recognizing that your dog is starting a behavior. So, okay, I have to manage that. And then I have to build skills so that the next time that it happens, I have something I can redirect the dog away from. Because they're always going to try to do it. But a puppy or a young dog doesn't have the skills not to do it.
I think one of the things that I've kept coming back to in all of these conversations I've had with everybody that we've spoken to in this series is that outlet for those behaviors. You kind of need to find a way to work with your dog to give them that outlet. And actually, a lot of the time, play is definitely where that can be. And play doesn't need to be. Well, it doesn't need to be fun, or it should be fun, but it can be that job. So it can be that job that they're looking for to do with those traits that's built into them. So how can owners use play to satisfy those natural breeding instincts and give them the as we just talked about, those appropriate outlets?
So herding is, people don't know that sometimes, but herding is actually chasing. So it's still predatory sequence where there is that, orienting towards the movement, and then stalking, and then creeping, and then chasing. And of course, herding has been stopped for herding dogs and Border Collie. Once they then chase, they stop and they control the sheep to bring them back. But it's still chasing. And some people get offended when I say Border Collie chase. If you go in Scotland, they still have this say, when you say, how's the puppy doing? Oh, he's chasing, he's fine, he's doing fine, he's chasing the sheep. And they still have that say in Scotland where these dogs come from. And the first time you hear it, it's like, what? It's chasing the sheep, should not be rounding them up and herding them. No, that's what it looks like at the beginning. And that's how you activate that need to be interested in sheep. So chasing is still a very important part of our dogs. My dogs chase each other constantly when they play. So chasing a toy that you're holding, it's to me already a big thing. And to me, it's still the most important. Share the toy, so we tug together, and then retrieve. Because once I let go of that toy, I want them to bring them back to start play again. So these are the main ways I actually help puppies and students with their dogs to fulfill that need to chase. It's coming from me, it's attached to me, and then ultimately it's about me and you, not about a toy that you take away and then you never bring back. And that is, for my dogs, has always been enough. I know that some dogs like to stalk as well, so you can incorporate stalking and then going and grabbing the toy as part of the play. I personally, coming from competitive obedience background, I don't like them to stalk because I want them to come into the toy as fast as possible without hesitation. Because when you collect a dumbbell and when you go to a target, I want them to be as far. I don't want them to stop thinking. And that has never stopped them herding sheep. So you can still do both things, they don't herd the toys, but then they can herd the sheep, no problem. Or they herd each other as a play, as an outlet, which is fine. So yeah, definitely chasing is still a big part. I don't do a lot of stalking, as I said, the toy, but if my students have dogs that need that, then I will introduce that. So even with a toy that you are holding, they can look at the toy, they can do a bit of stalking, they can do a bit of creeping, and then they can be released onto grabbing the toy and do a bit of tug. To me, tugging and sharing is the main thing at the end, because I want the predatory sequence to be on me and with me, not away from me.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I think that those things we hear all the time from people. When we're talking about, when we're out about events and somebody comes up with never heard or hasn't played tug before with their dog. I don't want to encourage my dog to chase. That's such a it's one of those things.
They are chasers.
They're going to do it anyway. So actually, it's kind of thinking, what can we do to actually make that behaviour, actually be better for the relationship, and also help to bring about those, the change in the behaviours that people are looking for, because they're not going to not chase things. It's going to happen. Every breed, really. To be honest, I mean, I've got that my little poodle cross, but he still loves to chase things. Even though he's 98% of the time he doesn't want to be a lap dog, but he still loves to chase. But yeah, so we can't talk about collies without play, collies and play, without talking about ball obsession. So what are your thoughts on collies and playing ball?
So I know that the world of Border Collie specialists especially, and other trainer professionals divides in two: the ones that think that ball is a great outlet, and the one that think that actually we can do without. And I'm on the one group that says we can do without. All my dogs have tried, ball chasing, and I do use it a bit for retrieve as well, games, but they don't need it. And it's not just because now I live on a farm that they don't need it. They never needed it before. And I personally, as I said before, I personally prefer the dogs to think about chasing as something that is attached to me, rather than something that happens in straight lines away from me. So prey drive is made of, something is running on a straight line, you chase it and you grab it and you try to grab it. And that's exactly what the ball does.
Yeah.
It just runs away from you in a straight line. And then most dogs grab it and they stop it, and then they come back and they want to repeat it again. So they just throw the toy at the owner's feet, and they want that repetition over and over again. And to me, there is no relationship in there. You're just becoming a ball thrower.
Yeah.
And this is where, if I use a ball, it has to have a string attached. And it's not that I don't use it, I do use it, but coming back to me means let's have a bit of a tug. Then I can throw it to you again. And we could start, a discussion about how I throw the ball. I never let my dog chase a ball. I hold the collar, throw the ball out, and then they go and fetch it. I never do proper, like, chuck it or things like that. To me, it's an injury to happen at some point. I've seen it happening. I can't afford injured dogs. They have to work at the moment, and I don't want it for them, to be honest. Anyway,
no, it's not good regardless, is it? Regardless whether they have to work or not. And
my dogs are happy. They've always been, even before having their own sheep, which has only been the last 10 months. They've always been happy without doing ball chasing, because we do a lot of retrieve games. They go and sniff the ball, the toy out. I can throw a ball, I can throw a toy that has a ball attached to it into the tall grass, and they can still go and hunt for it and bring it back. And it tires them out much more and is less impactful on their body anyway. Come back, have a tug, and we do it again. But we do it calm rather than that obsessing, repetitive chasing.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
If for us as a manufacturer of tug toys, that's one of the things that we really want to try and educate people on, is that you can definitely still have that game of fetch, but evolve it into something that then helps build that relationship between you and your dog by having that game of tug of war as a reward for bringing the ball toy back. And actually, one of the things there that you just said is actually where you throw it. So actually, it doesn't need to just be in the field in front of you. You could find somewhere to throw it, for the dog to go and sniff and search for it, find it, bring it back to you, and you're definitely going to help them enrich that game a lot better than just, as I said, a chuck it kind of
Yeah.
thrower. You're always throwing that fun away. You're never kind of having that relationship with
Exactly.
the dog at the end.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us today, Martina, and sharing
Thank you for
your
having me.
collie geekery with us. So and I'm sure there are lots, because this is very much where Tug-E-Nuff was built on is collies to begin with in the early days.
Yes.
Where can collie fans go to find out more about you, what you do?
Yeah, so I have a business which is called That'll Do Academy. I am on I'm on Facebook as That'll Do Academy. I run both face-to-face, online, one-to-one programs, and I have an online academy as well.
Yeah.
And then on social media, I'm most known as the Border Collie Geek, which is also linked to my podcast. Where I talk about Border Collies pretty much in any episode. We talk about training in general, but focused on Border Collies. Instagram, TikTok, as Border Collie Geek.
Awesome, cool. We'll put links to all of those things that you just mentioned in the show notes. So again, thank you for joining us, Martina, and it's great to see you again as always. And thank you.